About 7 years ago, I turned 50, and I realized at that time, that I didn't have much time left. I was entering, the latter part of my life, and I didn't know how much healthy years I had left, and you start to think about the friends that passed away early, the parents getting older, and yourself getting older, and realize that you don't have a lot of Christmases, Thanksgivings left to celebrate with your family. And I was also running the rat race, something that I had to reevaluate whether I wanted to do that anymore. And you start to ask these questions about, whether you've done enough in life, have you achieved enough, have you loved enough? Start going back to all the things that you dreamt of as a kid, and ask yourself, well, did I achieve those things, right? And then I realized, maybe the way I was measuring my life, was all wrong, and it wasn't all about, money and accumulating wealth, because that's what a lot of people measured us by, right? Was how much material possessions you can accumulate and so forth. And I started to think about, well, what would make me happy? Because as a kid, I always wanted financial security, because I never had those things growing up. But now that you have to ask yourself, when is enough enough? And there's 5 things that I did in my life and stopped caring about to buy back my freedom and peace of mind. The first thing I did was create a friend inventory. During my 50s, I realized that I had friends that just only called me up when they need something that would benefit them. And I sat down with my wife one day and I said, you know what, we always treat for dinner. And we always take people out for dinner, and we never ask for anything. But nobody has even bothered calling us for even a cup of coffee or just to see how we're doing. And so we started taking inventory of our friends and realized that, that maybe these people weren't the best people to hang out with anymore, right? Even once in a while. So we stopped getting rid of these people, and it started to clear up a lot of our time and space. And I thought mentally that was very freeing and liberating. The next thing we did was I jumped off the hamster wheel. So all my life I was always running every day, chasing the next dollar and trying to hustle to make as much as I could. And I lost touch with my soul. I lost touch with who I was, because as a kid, I want to have freedom, right? I think that's the most important thing. And when you're working away, you lose that freedom and what the intended purpose was. And you want to make that money so that you can have time to enjoy the things that you want to do. And I wasn't doing that. And so I started getting back to the little things, getting back to nature, going out for bike rides, heading out of town on the weekends whenever I can, when it's nice out, and just making sure that I spent a lot of time just doing the things that I really cared about, and not get so stressed out about the day-to-day business and finances. The third thing I did was start to think about, how much wealth did I want to accumulate, what is enough, versus the joy. Because when you're chasing the dollar, it never, for a lot of people, never seems to end. I know one guy, he's got like 5 watches, and he brags about his 5 luxury watches, and I'm thinking to myself, why do you need 5 watches? it blows my mind. But everyone's a little bit different. For me, the point of, once again, one point of accumulating money is so that I can go out and have freedom and free my time. And so I stopped chasing that. I started to focus on travel, because I always wanted to travel, and I love going to new places. That's one thing I would splurge on, right? And I lose track of time when I do that. And the other thing I love was training martial arts. I love the community. It brings me joy. It makes me feel young, because I'm around the youngsters, and it's a community. It's my social network, and so I could do that forever. And those are the things that bring me joy. It doesn't. And for travel, it doesn't always have to be luxury travel. You can travel on a budget and still experience the joys of seeing a new place and experiencing new things. The fourth thing I did was I stopped ego training. I put my ego aside, because as a competitive athlete, I always wanted to be the best in my field, or to be the best that I can be. And I now realize that, I spent a lot of years getting injured as well. And it's not going to serve me as I get older, because now, I don't want to be injured. I want to be healthy. I want to be able to enjoy the remaining years of my life, not in pain. So when I go lift at the gym now, I don't try to do my personal best. I just get a good sweat going. As long as I get a good workout that pushes me a little bit, right? Then I'm good, right? I can maintain my body. I can maintain my health. I don't need to injure myself and prove anything to anyone. And I think that's important. I think longevity and being able to function and be independent as an 80-year-old is worth it, compared to, ego lifting to prove to what, and nobody even cares. And so that's so important to me now, is to make sure that all my years leading up to the day I'm not on this earth, that I'm healthy and fit. And the last thing I got rid of was the emotional vampires in my life. You probably have these guys or people, relatives, friends in your life that just argue for the sake of arguing, because they just want to be right. Whether you get cut off at a traffic stop or whatever in traffic, we used to all get so angry and upset. I see these people getting upset about these things, and it's just all, negativity. Why get out and get upset because that person that cut you off, maybe they were having a bad day, maybe they didn't even know, and they're already gone already. You're still festering and worked up over this issue. So for me, it's if I have a friend that's argumentative and wants to be right all the time, I just let them be right. I don't care. I just remove myself from the situation right away. I tell you, I had a friend that I grew up with, and was actually my best friend in school. And I cut him off, because the last time I visited him, it was just arguing about every little thing. It's like, what? Just be right. Okay, just be right. I don't care, because I sat there thinking to myself. I went to go visit this guy, and I spent hours just to see how he's doing, see how his family's doing, and all he wants to do is talk about these, about how political, correct he is on issues, whether it's sports, all these things, pop culture. I don't care, because that has nothing to do with my life. And so for me, it was just best to just let him go. And even though we've been friends for decades, I don't miss him, because I could have spent the way I see it is, the time that we spent bickering amongst each other, you could have just sat there and read a book and studied a course and do something to improve yourself, improve your mind. And to me, it's a waste of time. The way the thing I think about is, the clock. We have this clock when we're born, and it's ticking. It's ticking down. And so, do you want to spend your life wasting away about things that you cannot change, or just things are just pure meaningless. So my wife always asks me, well, how's your day today, right? And I changed out all these things. What used to be complaints that I had, I would just say, every day is a good day. As long as you're on this earth, living and healthy, it's a good day. Because a lot of my friends who had all these dreams and everything, they passed in their 30s or early 40s and never had this chance. So what can be bad about it? I mean, we live in North America. It's not like we live in a third world country, right, where every day is like day to day, and a lot of those people in those countries are happy because they're around family and community and stuff like that. So I'm curious, what are your burdens that you had, and did you, when you turned 50, did you do an inventory and to get rid of these burdens that are holding you down? Feel free to comment below, and if you like my video, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you later. Okay, bye for now.